This is David Allen, and I'm with my daughter Marie, and we're talking about how all of us have a powerful codependency built within us. We want to please people. We want to do things that people like so that they like us. Many times we would say no when we mean yes, and yes when we mean no. And it's just, we're uncomfortable just being us. And Marie, you know, you work particularly with young ladies and groups and stuff like that, and you see this in the making in a young girl. Mm-hmm. How do you help that young girl form herself so she starts to assert herself?
Well, when you look at young children, you see that they are already so strong in their sense of self. You know, they love who they are. They feel invincible. They can accomplish everything, do everything. And so one of the things is to try to tap back into what was that like for you? What was that like for you to feel like you can do anything before that one person or whoever told you that you can't do it?
At a young age, then, a kid feels much more invincible.
Much more.
Okay, so but as they get older, they start to doubt themselves.
Yes.
So your therapy is you help them to tap back into
that. What was that feeling like when you just felt, you know?
And what do they say?
We take time to think about usually someone or something, whether that person intended it to or that situation intended it to. They can remember when they started feeling not quite so good. They can remember a comment someone said about their hair or about their nose or about their legs, or kids can be extremely cruel, and you can see people talk about these comments and see how it literally shifted the way they saw themselves. So we try to go back. We deal with the pain of that. You can't ignore it. It happened. It's very painful. But we also go back and try to see, how did I feel before all of this happened? And how do I tap into the feelings of adequacy and beauty that I have, and not give those vicious, mean comments so much power, those feelings, those negative feelings of I'm not good enough, so much power. But it's not easy. It's not easy. And there's some days that are harder than others. You know, there's some days you just don't feel great. And when you're living in fear, it can make you feel so guilty and powerless. And then that transfers into your own feelings of self-esteem and inadequacy. And then it's easier to stay in codependent relationship because you're relying on that situation or that person to help you, even though they're not really helping you. It's amazing how complicated it can be, and how much our minds and our brains can justify and rationalize us staying in these difficult situations, because going back to feeling inadequate or insecure as a child, feeling badly about themselves, feeling like, you know, if they break out of this situation, life is going to be over. It's never going to work out for them again. Those are very powerful, powerful fears. The other thing, though, the other focus I've been looking at, a lot of times we look at the underwatered, right? Those are the people that have been raised in homes with addiction and trauma and abuse, which is horrible, horrible. And traditionally, that's what therapy would focus on. Now, I'm also very interested in those that are overwatered. So,
what do you mean
overwatered? So protected, so nurtured that they never developed a core sense of self that they could do it themselves. So right now we have this epidemic of college students who are increasing suicide. Psychiatrists have to be on campuses all over the place now because these kids have never learned how to fail.
In fact, young girls, their suicide rate has increased in the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Why would that be?
Because, like I said, they haven't learned to self-soothe. Someone's always rescued them, or the pressures of the social media, the things people are saying, the cyberbullying that I've heard about, just vicious,
and
vicious
Marie,
things.
these issues are now in Nassau as well.
Yes.
And so what would you say to parents or listening tonight who have young girls who are facing these very challenging codependency issues? What would you say to them?
I would say, if you notice your child is acting differently, pay attention. A lot of times, the kids I've worked with, there were signs that were just going unnoticed. If they seem sad a lot, if all of a sudden they don't want to go to school so much, if they seem isolated, they're going into the room, they're not eating as much at dinner, they're constantly on there, they're checking their phones. What's going on? Because sometimes what's going on is they are being cyberbullied, or there's something going on in terms of chats, live chats.
Sorry, cyberbullying is
Cyberbullying is taking bullying from just inside of school, and now it's through devices.
social media.
Social media.
They tell a girl you're ugly.
You're ugly, you should die, why are you still living? I've got some pills for you to take.
Oh,
You're
man.
disgusting, you're a whore, you're
And
a
other
hoe.
girls tell girls this.
Absolutely, and it happens all the time.
It's so horrible.
It's so painful. And so what happened was, used to be at school you'd hear it, and then you could come home and not have to deal with it. Now, but through cyberbullying, every time you turn on your phone, you open your laptop, there it is. And there's things like creating false accounts, and there's a lot out there. And so girls, if they're not taught how to do it, and I still have had several girls who just did not tell their parents for months. And by that time, ulcers had started, the anxiety, eating disorders. And I always ask, why? And these are lovely homes. Why didn't you tell your mom? Why didn't you? I was scared she'd get involved and make it worse. I'd scared she'd come to school and then I'd be really bullied. And it's amazing how these kids don't say anything. So you have to pay attention. Don't be afraid to check your kids' phones. You know, that's how the most recent one person I worked with, they found out the mom just could not figure out what's going on, why her daughter was just seemingly spinning out of control. She checked her phone and there was just hate and mean things coming in at her all the time.
And other kids are doing this, other girls are doing this to girls because what? They're trying to make them feel bad?
Yeah, a lot of times there's a core, maybe there's a boy that they're jealous that that likes this other girl. Sometimes there's no reason at all. The other things that's really important to understand with cyberbullying is no matter what age you are, once you're behind a computer screen or a phone, your sense of being anonymous increases. So a lot of,
say that again.
because you're behind a device or a screen, you feel anonymous. Even though you're not, your name's connected with that. But a lot of times people would never say in person what they've said on their device. And because they feel like it's a live chat or what have you, there's other people in there, they feel empowered because they're in this group to say mean things. If it's one-on-one, it's less likely of a chance. So we tell these kids to, you know, copy it, screenshot it, block the person, and tell an adult. Tell someone you can trust, because
Okay, what do you do again?
you take a screenshot. So you have documentation of what happened,
Who
or print
takes
it
the
out.
screenshot? The parent does?
No, the kid
Takes a
who's getting
screenshot.
hurt. Yes,
Okay.
screenshot or print it out. So you've got the documentation, the evidence. Block the person immediately. A lot of times, what's painful is you see the kids. It's almost like watching a horrible train accident, a car accident. They're having these horrible things come in, like, why are you alive? Why haven't you killed yourself yet? And they can't stop watching it. And so it's like it's almost like you're mentally tearing a kid apart. So what you try to do is to encourage them to block it, so they stop watching it, and then tell someone that they can trust.
Fellow Bahamians, we need to pay attention. Our teenagers are under assault, particularly our young girls, our men too, but our young girls are under assault. And if you don't know, you don't know. Marie has now joined our Practice Renaissance Institute, and you can reach her there, 327-8718, 327-8719. She's an expert at this. She works with groups in New York as well as groups here, and it's the same issue around the world. But we have to get at the bottom of this, because in America, just in the past couple of months, as we were in New York, the suicide rate for young girls is increasing. And my guess, when America has a cold, we get pneumonia. So my guess, what happens there will soon happen here. Watch your young girls. Watch out for cyberbullying. Watch their phone. Watch what they listen to. Watch how the guys talk to them. Watch how the girls talk to them, because some of these young girls are being bullied, and it's affecting them, causing eating disorders, causing depression, and sometimes even causing suicidality. Anything else a parent can do with a young girl?
I think talking is so huge. It doesn't always have to be mountaintop experiences. I think parents get nervous about talking because they feel like they're not going to know what to say.
I mean, just sit around and talk?
Just chat, yeah. What I find sometimes, timing is really important. If there's a movie that you love to watch, it's very annoying for your child to come up and start talking to you. right? So if they're in the middle of something, that's not the time to go up and talk to them. Timing is important. Also, if there's something that just happens to come on TV, that's a great way to say, oh, look at how that kid reacted. What did you think about the way her parents did that? What do you think about the way that guy is taking those drugs? Use it as just a casual conversation. So then the child doesn't feel like they're cornered into this big talk if they don't want to. So use those as triggers. Don't judge when your child says something. A lot of times parents...
What do you mean, don't judge?
So a child will say something like, I feel sad because you're so busy all the time. Oh, I'm not busy. Well, I'm busy, but it's just because I have to provide for you. I have to go to work. You shouldn't be sad about it. You should be grateful about all the stuff you can get. That's your defensiveness. The better thing would be...
But it's true, though.
It's true, but that's saying the child doesn't have a right to feel sad.
Oh, okay.
So it would be better to say, sweetheart, I'm so sorry. I know you feel sad. I feel sad sometimes, too, that I can't be here as much with you as I'd like. But it kind of is the way it is. So let's make a plan of some time we are going to spend together. So validate, it's painful for us to hear that our children are hurt, and so we try to just, here, have a cookie, or here, don't be hurt, don't be sad. Are you crazy? No, I get it. That would make me upset too. That would make me angry too. You have a right to feel that way. However, doesn't mean you can always change the situation. So I think don't judge what they say. Try not to be defensive. Look for key moments, and then just once you've done that, the child knows I call it leaving the door open, which means they might not come with something major then, but once you've opened those lines of communication, they know that if something does come up, they can come to you.
Marie, one issue parents always bring up is, should they really look at their kid's phone, and should they read their kids' diaries?
Yeah, I feel with phones, it should be, depending on ages, obviously, but I feel like if you're going to have internet, the parent should have the right to phone check and have passwords for your child's protection. I think that should just be, there's an excellent documentary out called Screenagers. Yeah, Screenagers. It was done by a pediatrician, a mother pediatrician whose daughter turned 13 and wanted a phone. And so she started researching, and she found out what actually happens in the brain and how these kids were starting to go into trances and all this kind of interesting things. But so she let her child have a phone, but she did a very simple contract of, I need to have your password. And it worked beautifully because the girl felt respected and that she could have a phone, but the mother also felt in control. So I think that's a great way to do it. If the child is going to have a phone or a device, fantastic. It's the way the light world works. They have to. But being able to put in just measurements, like being able to check passwords and what have you, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I think the other thing which is very important is that you must be a mother. In the States, apparently this lady had been divorced for a number of years, and she started to date. And she asked her 14-year-old daughter, should she let the man stay over at night? And joking, the 14-year-old daughter said, oh yeah, let him stay in the bathroom. Well, she got up one morning, and guess what? There was this man in the bathroom. And the 14-year-old said, Dr. I was just joking. Why did my mother believe me? So it seems that what's happening in America and in Bahamas, that these teenagers are so advanced, sometimes parents are becoming the child, and the teenager becoming the parent. How do we deal with that role reversal?
Well, that can be a form of codependency as well, right? The mother being codependent on the daughter, asking permission and trying to figure out something instead of saying, I'm a grown-up, I have my own boundaries, I know. And so, unfortunately, that could enable the daughter to eventually become codependent as well, because they've done these role reversals.
Wow.
We're living in a complicated society.
We're going to take a break and be right back.